Hey everybody, I think we're going to get started in just a second. Just waiting on a couple more attendees to come on board. This is Jason Hobbs. I'm the CEO and founder of Foundee, and today we're going to do a walkthrough of Foundee. Cool. All right, everybody. Let's see, just about to get started. Thank you guys for taking the time this morning. I'm going to move this one-page slide we made this morning over to the right. Okay. Thanks so much for joining, guys. Again, I'm Jason Hobbs. I'm the CEO of Foundee, and today we are going to be doing a quick walkthrough of the new Foundee platform. For some of you, this is entirely new, and for others, you guys may have been a Foundee user for years, and so this is the new design, the new experience, some new functionality, and a whole lot of underlying functionality as well. So I'm going to just do a quick run through on some of the sort of core or basic functionality. I'm logged into an account right now. So the platform was originally developed as a tool to build remarketing audiences based on clicks from short links. We launched about 6 years ago on a St. Vincent album campaign, and we managed to use Foundee as a way of building out remarketing audiences across Google and Facebook, basically, at the time. And so we did that pretty easily by just creating this link shortener. As you can see, I typed in a long URL, I get a short URL, and what happens in that process of clicking on that link, when a fan clicks on that link, is any pixels that are associated with that account, they will automatically fire. We've also built tools like geolinks, which allows you to create a single link that will pull all of the, let's say in this case, Apple destination URLs. You can easily override any territory you want. You can add new countries if you'd like, or different platforms. In this case, this is the new Common album, and it's pulled 121 countries, the exact matches, and voila. And to give you an example of what that means when somebody clicks on these links, I'll take you into the pixels section. Actually, I'm going to go back into my account before I take you into pixels section, just to keep all the data reserved for mine. So this is my test account. Not a lot of activity. Not a lot of people click on my links, unfortunately. But I'm going to go into the top right and click on Manage Pixels. And so every time a link is created and shared, there's going to at least be a Foundee related pixel in that account. So every brand new account, every account that exists, period, automatically comes pre-equipped with a Foundee universal pixel. And this universal pixel acts as a remarketing pixel. So anytime a link is clicked, the pixel fires, a cookie is stored, and I'll take you into what that means in the audiences section before too long. You can also very quickly add a pixel. So here on the right-hand side, there's a button that says Add Pixel, and in this case, I would type in Facebook, let's say. I'm not going to walk you guys through the cumbersome process of finding that pixel. So instead, I did that earlier, and you can see I've added a Facebook pixel. I've added a Google pixel, Google AdWords pixel. And so again, every time a link is clicked or a page is visited, all three of these pixels from my account will be firing. And as you can see, we have a lot of segments that automatically form along with those pixel fires. And I'll show you how those are all built out. Let's start by giving you a quick walkthrough of setting up a landing page. So let's see, I was going to use Prophets of Rage one, but I couldn't find a SoundCloud link for them. So I'm going to use this one from this band called New Language. And so what this allows you to do is take any iTunes or Apple link and very quickly set up a landing page. So as you can see, I pasted in an Apple link, and it's automatically pulled in the band name, which is of course editable. It's automatically pulled in the album art, and it automatically pulls in the album name itself. You can also edit that. Now I'm going to build this thing out a little bit further. We are already done, but I want to build this out just a little bit further. I'm going to add in a SoundCloud embed, SoundCloud player up here at the top, and then I'm going to add in a YouTube widget at the bottom. So we could add tour dates, but I looked up New Languages. They have one tour date coming up, and so it wasn't enough to like really fill the bottom part out. So instead, I'm going to use this video from YouTube. And they're pretty rock and metal, so I'm going to change that to, let's say, black and white, because that looks rad. And now I'm going to create this landing page. And literally in seconds, we've just made this landing page. As you can see, we have the SoundCloud player at the top. This could be anything. This could be a YouTube video. This could be a Spotify embedded player. This could be an Apple player. This can even be, and I've seen some bands do this, this could be a MailChimp email capture form if you'd like to use that there instead. And this was really, I think these are really cool, but now we have a full page music video as well. So as the fans scroll down, the experience is actually expanded into this full page music video. The other really cool thing about this is those pixels that I just showed you. By me clicking and coming to this page, I just fired all three of those pixels and all three of those cookies downloaded on my computer. If I continue to click into something like, let's say I click Spotify in this case, and let's say I click Apple Music in this case. Well, our data management platform at this point is beginning to pick up on our behavior and understand that perhaps we're interested in streaming music. So far, I haven't clicked on anything like a physical link or anything like that, or a ticket link in this case. But at this point, I have clicked on Spotify and I have clicked on Apple. So our system will start to build out these behavioral audiences of people based on what it is they're intending to do. Actually, you know what? My account's a little bit anemic because nobody clicks on my links. So let me see if I can find. Oh wait, there she is. Okay, let's see. So someone like Lindsay Sterling gets a lot of clicks. So you can see these audiences build out in a much cooler way than you can on my own. And so this one here is a custom audience. Somebody actually set up and created an audience of their own based on their own rules. But there are 45 audiences that come pre-equipped with your account. So after this call, if you guys go to your audiences page, you'll see 45 audiences that are pre-equipped, and every single link that you create will help build out those individual audiences for you. And the point of those individual audiences is so you can set up and run advertising very quickly, targeting people based on exactly what it is they wanted to engage with, and be able to tailor the creatives to that experience and drive them exactly where they want to go. So this is an example of an account that actually gets used, unlike my own. Actually, let me show you guys something really quickly. One of the really cool new features that comes along with audiences is the ability to share an audience. So in this case, I'm looking at Lindsay Sterling's 2019 tour ticketing audience that they've created. Now, why you might want to share an audience is, well, I think a good example of something like that would be, let's say Lindsay Sterling's getting ready to play the Orpheum Theater in downtown Los Angeles or something along those lines, and the promoter reaches out and says, hey, can I install my remarketing pixel on your website? Usually management just says no or declines to answer. Or unfortunately, sometimes you'll find a dozen or more old retargeting pixels on an artist's website. They never take it down. And so a lot of managers and agents don't want to install that pixel because they don't want to have to be responsible for taking those down. They also don't want you to then be able to use that audience for the next 18 months, in Google AdWords to target somebody else, or sorry, to sell tickets for another band. So what we built was a very simple and insular system. So let's say that promoter reaches out today on the 26th and the concert is on the 12th. Now I can share my remarketing audience with that promoter starting today, and it will automatically expire on the 12th if you'd like. And voila, now the promoter will see this audience in their account immediately. And I'll take you back to my account so you can see just that. There we go. So now we have Lindsay Sterling's ticketing audience, which of course I will not actually use. Jeremy on the online has given me permission to share this for a moment. And so now if I'm the promoter, here's how quickly we can set up an advertising campaign. Just click the start button. Lindsay, that's right, Lindsay show 7/12, okay. Let's just say this is Los Angeles in California, not Los Angeles, Chiapas, Mexico, although you could target there if you'd like for some reason. Say you want to spend $50. And again, that date was between today and the 12th. On the right-hand side, you see it starts to build out an insertion order so everybody can see very quickly what it is being built. You have your flight dates, it automatically breaks out your budget per day. $3 is not a lot of budget per day, but I'm gonna take you through this process anyways. Now let's say I wanna upload a couple of banners. Oh, I wish I had put some Lindsay Sterling banners in here. Instead, I'm gonna use some more of these new language banners. You know what, let me add a couple. I'm not gonna launch this, don't worry. And you know what? I don't have a landing page, so I'm gonna use the one I just generated. Voila. There we go. If I click finish, we're already done with setting up an advertising campaign specifically targeting tour ticketing audiences for Lindsay Sterling in Los Angeles, California. And then, of course, I can drive them to anything. It could be, we could drive them to Ticketmaster, Eventbrite, or Tixer, or something along those lines. In this case, just for sake of simplicity, I'm driving them to that landing page. But we can also, if we wanted to, we could have made this landing page specific to that tour date. And then that would be a really good reason to set that up. I will not click finish because it doesn't make sense to use a Lindsay Sterling audience with a new language banner. But I will show you that you can also add in a PO number for those of you that have to work with an accountant or a CFO or a controller that really wants you to add a PO number along with your campaign as well. And at this point, when I click that, we are already done targeting, setting up an advertising campaign, targeting that very specific audience with that very specific experience. With audiences, the more you use the platform, the more targeted your audiences will get, the more qualified your advertising will get. And since I guess we're on the advertising section currently, I'll walk you through a couple of things. So I just showed you remarketing, and this is prospecting. Since I already have this done, and I think it's already pasted, I am going to walk you through setting up a campaign for new language again. I know they have some new music coming out, and I know that they are pretty heavily rock. So I'm going to come in here and I'm going to target one of these lists that are pre-generated for us. Now you can edit these lists if you'd like. So the premium list here includes the likes of, say, MTV and Paste and Pitchfork and Billboard and Pandora and Rolling Stone and Discog and everything else. I can edit these if I don't think one of these fits for them. I can just click the X button, or I can add new domains if I'd like. In this case, I'm going to keep it pretty simple, and I'm going to just use that one. And I'm going to set it up with a $50 advertising budget. And I'm going to run that for those couple of weeks. And voila, we're already basically halfway there. I'm going to upload a couple, I don't know why I keep uploading one at a time. I'm going to upload a couple banners. That one will do. We recommend 5 banner ad sizes, which you can find in our frequently asked questions section. But you can actually use any ad size that you'd like. There are 5 banner ad sizes that work best on music-related websites, music and entertainment-related websites. They tend to be served above the fold, and they tend to get better click-through rates and ultimately CPCs. So as you see, as we're building this out on the right-hand side, all the information is storing the way an insertion order would store. And voila, now we're done. And again, if you want to add a PO number, you can add that PO number. That makes sense. Otherwise, we're good to go. So some of you guys have had some questions about the advertising and how that works. As I just mentioned, you have the opportunity to run targeting on a number of different websites. So we have things like we have pre-built curated lists for a lot of different genres. Unfortunately, you know, there are some genres that there aren't a ton of music websites for, like jazz, unfortunately. But you know, if you see a list that you think is nearly close enough, then you can basically come in and edit that list as we talked about, and then you can save that list. But your advertising is absolutely running on these websites. This is something that is pretty interesting for a lot of people because previously it was very cost prohibitive to try and run an ad on Resident Advisor or Billboard or Pitchfork or something like that. A lot of times these larger publishers, they have minimum insertion orders of, you know, a couple $1,000s at the very least, and some of them are $5,000 or $10,000. And so for a lot of people, that's your entire budget or more than your entire budget. In this case, we can actually run these with absolutely no minimum. And not only that, these are going to get on those websites for probably closer to about 1/5 to 1/7 of the cost as if you went directly. So you don't have to spend all your money on one single one single domain for premium targeting. Now you can spread that out, and you have no minimums, and those are coming in at much, much cheaper than if you go direct. So that's an example of a couple of those. Currently, on the front end, you can see that we have Spotify and iHeart already set up. We also have deals with you know, companies like Google for Google Play Music and YouTube Music. We have a lot of other, we have SoundCloud and stuff that we'll be making available on the front end soon as well. So I will walk you through very quickly. They're all very much the same process. So really the big difference is the targeting. So Spotify, Sapient. Some of you may have read our case study that we have about this artist called Sapient. It was a pretty phenomenal case study, which we'll share around after this call, if you haven't seen it. And I'm going to select my flight dates again. And let's see. Aha, Sapient. And Sapient, voila. Let's just pretend I just went and copied the actual URL. Oh, nope, that's right. It's got to be Spotify or bust in this case. Which actually brings me to another question that we got from a lot of people. And the question was, Are audio ads cost effective? The very short answer is yes, audio ads are cost effective, or at least depending on how you run them. So certainly if you have a very small budget and you're trying to use that budget to gain critical mass around the world, that is going to be very difficult to do. But as you can find with the Sapient case study and another case study from Armada, and I think another case study that might be coming up from New Language as well, you can really target individual markets, and you can actually raise the overall awareness. You can generate new streams. You can gain followers and listeners, and people saving your music to their library. With Sapient, for instance, the case study in very brief is Sapient is originally in a duo hip hop group from Portland, Oregon. They gained some international notoriety. They've been around for a few years. At some point, he was coming out with his own album, or really it was he had an album's worth of music, but he was going to release that music one song a month or something along those lines. At this point, when he reached out to us, he'd already released, I think, 2 or 3 songs, and Overjoyed was that most recent song. It had already been out for about a month. It had its sort of typical spike as you would see in Spotify Artist Insights. I'm sure everybody here has reviewed Spotify Artist Insights. First couple of weeks after the album campaign, or after the single or album is released, you see that spike and you see it sort of level off. With Sapient, that happened, of course, like anybody else. And there was a pretty static baseline at that point. I can't remember the number of streams off the top of my head, but at that point, people were listening on average about the exact same amount of times every single day. And so when he came to us, he was like, "Hey, look, I started my career in Portland. I had this fan base in Portland for the duo, but I can't seem to reach those fans with my music." So we took a look at the Spotify Artist Insights, and Portland, sure enough, was averaging like number 16 or something in the top cities of listeners. And so we're like, okay, we have an idea. Why don't you set up and run a Spotify audio campaign, specifically target people in Portland that might be interested in your music? And I think he picked hip hop and pop for that test case. And he ran that campaign for just 1 week. In that 1 week's time, he was able to move Portland up from 16 to number 2. And I think now it's been about 4 months since this happened. Recently, I logged back into his Artist Insights account knowing that this webinar was coming up. And I'm happy to report that Portland is still number 4 on that list, for not just for this song, but it's actually grown overall across all of his music. So when you have a very pointed goal in mind, something like what Sapient had in this case, you can absolutely use audio advertising effectively. And I'm not going to walk you through the iHeart campaign because it looks very much the same as the other one does. Oops. Back out of here. Let's see. So just walking you guys through a couple more things. So there are a number of you on this call that are from record labels and management companies, some individual artists on this call as well. And I just want to show you something that foundee allows you to do. So once you have an account, you're now able to create new accounts directly from within your account. So this could be a new band here. If you want to give somebody the ability to log in from the homepage, you'd have to give it an email that's associated with it. Okay, this one's already associated, and give it a password. Or if you don't need to do that, then you don't, and you just want to be able to switch into people, then you don't have to use an email. So in this case, let's say, I can very quickly click this button here on the right in the middle, the arrow, and that would allow me to log in immediately to one of these accounts. And as you can see, there's no email actually associated with those accounts. But all of the data that gets created within each of those accounts is stored. It's isolated to those accounts. So what this allows you to do is create an artist account, let's say, and then share it with other people that are involved in that artist. So you can share access, as I showed you earlier. or maybe it didn't. You can share access very quickly. Let me see, I'm gonna give Gabe access to my account here. And I can change that access level. Read, write, or admin. Admin means he can do things like change passwords or grant access or remove access and stuff like that. Very much like a Facebook page access, basically. Write means that you can use most of the tools within the account, but not be able to change other people's passwords or access. And read is something you might want to give somebody that perhaps you don't want to, or maybe they don't want to have too many cooks in the kitchen that can possibly delete a link on you or something along those lines. And so you can give them read access, which allows them to look at links and pages you've created and look at all the stats that you've created, or all the stats related to your account and stuff like that. In this case, some of you may have talked to Gabe, so we trust him. And so he's going to be, now he's an admin on my, well, I guess it's kind of our shared account anyways. So you can very quickly grant access or remove access and create accounts that then can be shared among your entire team. So we've already shown you, let's say, creating links, creating pages. Aha, here's a cool one. So it's very, it's very possible that you're going to get a premiere on, sure. Very possible you're going to get a premiere on, Pitchfork or something along those lines. And so we built this technology that we call Embeds. Normally, you would share a link, you'd share an embed just from YouTube or just from SoundCloud or whatever that thing is for the article. You share it with your publicist shares it with the writer, and that's it. You've just shared that, and cool, that works. Or alternatively, what you can do is you can take that same widget and you can load it, you can add it directly to foundee embeds, and you can generate, here's your little preview on the right hand side, you can generate a different widget code. So as you can see, I just created this one. I'm going to load this. It's very similar. So these codes look very similar. So here's the YouTube original code, and here is the new foundee embed code. Now the really big difference here, because the video or the SoundCloud or the Spotify player or whatever it is you're using, they're all going to display exactly as they would if you skip this step. The very big difference here is now when people read that article, you're going to also fire those remarketing pixels. So now you can actually reach the people that have read the article for that premiere that you got. And as that gets ripped off from Pitchfork and then shared on Fader and then shared on whomever else, you're able to then build out those audiences and remark to those people automatically. And again, as I mentioned, we have 45 preset audiences for you just every time you create an account. Mine has never had a premiere, so mine is at 0. But if you've forgotten to create an audience and you got that premiere, a lot of times that's pretty bad. With foundee though, it's not bad because we've already created 45 audiences for you. Not only that, you can make retroactive audiences. So let's say you were going to get audience from Free Bike Valet. So let's say you did the premiere with Pitchfork, but then Free Bike Valet actually ended up showing a ton of traffic. They basically ripped off the embed code and they take it and they repurpose it for their own article. Well, you just come in after the fact even and you create your own audience. Say location URL contains and free bike. Then I'm going to type in Free Bike Valet, and voila. Now we have a new audience. Nothing is lost, and you're able to then remarket those people. So a lot of advertisers, a lot of people at record labels that we've worked with in the past. The reason why they might want to know where an audience comes from is because at that point, if there's a really good article from a writer on Pitchfork, Free Bike Valet, or Fader, or anything else, you can reference that article. You can reference a really cool pull quote from that article when you're reaching out to the fans for the second or third time, or when the album is finally launched. You can use an exact quote, and you can say Fader called it the best album that's ever existed, or whatever that thing is. And then you can really tailor your message. You can even take that a little bit further if you want. You can say, I want to reach, this isn't for everybody, but let's say you had a big enough audience that was built out for Pitchfork and for Spotify. Now you can get really creative here as well. So I'm going to say this equals, this equals the people that have seen my media player, my premiere on Pitchfork, and it also must contain anybody that has visited Spotify. One of these is shared as me. I'm gonna say high propensity Spotify. So these are the people that have only ever engaged your Spotify links, whether you have those links on your website or your social or your newsletter or wherever else. As long as you're shortening those links as foundee links, the data management platform is gonna keep track of your fans' behavior over the lifetime of them, really. And so in this case, we've just created an audience that have specifically come from or saw the media that was presented in the article on Pitchfork, and subsequently, it doesn't have to be in that moment, it could be at any point in that album campaign or even before that album campaign, have subsequently also gone to Spotify. And let's see. This is something that will just, I think, make some people's lives easier. Anybody that's on the call that works with a band that goes on tour and has to create short links for that tour. Well, we have this thing called bulks, and what this does is come in here, you download a CSV, and that CSV has headers you have to maintain. Come on, Microsoft. Pretty typical, pretty standard. So, you want to just make sure you have the dates filled in, the location, the venue, and the URL to the ticket itself. And then you can give it a prefix like 2019 tour or whatever it is you want. And then save this thing. I have like 20 of these now. And then, no, okay, I don't need to save it. Don't save it. Okay. And then we can upload, and it's going to create a short link for every single one of those dates for us automatically. And so now when you're putting the links on the website or in the newsletter, every time one of those is clicked, now you're building out your audience, like the Lindsey Sterling audience that we talked about earlier. And it's really helpful. When people are clicking and engaging a ticket link, they're really showing a lot of interest in your artist. It's much better than that sort of passive inference of what like Facebook data management platform is designed to do. So for anybody that's very curious about that, the way our data management platform differs from like a Facebook or a Google, which are obviously fantastic, they're huge companies. They are designed for every industry. They're not designed for the music industry. In fact, the music industry, I think the total value of the music industry is last year was lower than the total amount of money spent on advertising on one of these platforms. And so they're not catering to our industry, unfortunately, and nobody is. And so that's where Foundee's data management platform is really shined, I would say. So one of the things that you would see with a Facebook sort of interest inference would be, let's say I posted on Facebook and I was like, hey, I went to Bottle Rock this weekend and I saw my old friend, Abraham, and it was a great show. Oh, randomly, I saw Marilyn Manson in the audience drinking wine. If I said all that in a post, this is overly reductive, I know, and then my mom thumbs that up. My mom probably thumbed that up, not because Marilyn Manson, not because of Bottle Rock, not because of the wine or anything like that, but probably because she's happy that I'm happy and I posted something about having a great time this weekend, right? But now Facebook is trying to associate those keywords with my mom and assuming now she has an interest in Marilyn Manson, she has an interest in wine, and she has an interest in Bottle Rock. I would say two of those three things are true, but there are a lot of times where it's certainly not true. And so the big difference there is Facebook is looking at sort of inference-based modeling. Meanwhile, Foundee is looking at intent. So when we're talking about ticketing audience, this isn't somebody that thumbs something up that had to do with someone else's post that may have had something to do with Lindsey Sterling, and may have had something to do with concert. These are people that have actually actively engaged your tour ticketing links. And these are people that have actually gone to your Spotify. And these are people that have only ever gone to your Spotify and not gone to Apple or Google Play and stuff like that. So that's why these are very valuable to the music industry, because they are entirely designed to be intent-based remarketing audiences. So you understand who it is that you're connected to that is interested in what. Let's see, so that's links, it's pages, embeds, bulks, audiences, advertising, reporting. This is my test account, so I don't think I'm gonna have a whole lot of really interesting campaigns to show you inside of here, but maybe I'll jump into another one and show you really quickly. Actually, I think we do these a lot. Oh, here we go. What is this? Oh, here we go. So this is a quick example of the reporting. This is Gabe's band. So when you talk to Gabe, you can ask him about jazz. He's a very good musician, and so we thankfully he lets us run these kinds of things from time to time, always adding to the marketing. And so this was just a remarketing campaign. We were targeting people that have come to one of our foundee links, for instance, just very quickly. And so, very interestingly, what you might find is you have a very quick glance on the right-hand side. You see which banner is prevailing. In this case, it has a 1.63% click-through rate and a 10-cent cost per click. You get a really quick glance at the top 10 report, and you can see the CPM, CPCs, total budget. If you want to, you can right-click and you can click print, and then you can go through the process and very quickly creating a PDF and sending that off to whomever you want, keeping people in the know. Let me see if I can find one. Oh, you know what? I know who's run. Let's see. I'm going to take you quickly into Santana's campaign. I know that he's run, or that his record label has run a premium advertising campaign. So the really interesting thing, as I mentioned about premium advertising, is that there's no minimums, and you diversify where you're going to spend your money. So instead of being entirely on one website, you're able to target across multiple premium websites in this case. And as you can see, the cost per 1,000 impressions in this case is only $1.46, and the majority of this has run. Load that up a little bit bigger. Majority of this is actually run on Rolling Stone and Billboard. These thousands of impressions, actually hundreds of thousands of impressions, cost less than $2 per 1,000 impressions. And for those of you that have run ads directly on Spotify or run ads directly on like the Rolling Stones and the Billboards and stuff like that, you'll know that those averages are actually closer to really between $14 and $21 per 1,000 impressions. So in that case, that was less than 10% of what it would cost if you went directly to Rolling Stone. Which actually takes me to another question that I think a lot of people have had, and that really, I guess it's sort of a three-part question. You know, how much does it cost? How much should I spend? And let me see. Yeah, how much does it cost? How much should I spend? And how much should I spend on remarketing? Well, first of all, foundee is free, as anybody on this webinar knows, because you guys all have accounts. Everything you see here is always going to be free. Where you're going to pay for ultimately is the advertising. So if you want to run ads through Google and Facebook, you can certainly leave our experience and you can go to Google and Facebook. Or if you want to very quickly, very intelligently set up and run an advertising campaign targeting your tour ticket audience or something along those lines, then you can do that directly through our platform. Now, what it costs is just whatever you want to spend at that point. So, you know, as I mentioned, this is remarketing. I want to spend $100 on this. And on the right-hand side, there's my date range. Oops, change that. And on the right-hand side, you can see very quickly what sort of estimations you're looking at based on that budget. it's a little tough to say how much should I spend, because as everybody knows, that depends on your goal, of course. How many people you need to reach your goal. Really, how many people you need to reach in order to meet your goal, I think is the best way to look at that, break that equation down. What I can tell you is Foundee is going to give you 60% better reach at less than half of what the Google Display Network's average cost per click was in 2018. Not only that, a lot of these campaigns, especially remarketing, these are rivaling the Facebook advertising cost per click and CTRs at this point. We're getting, between 0.8 and 2% click-through rates on a number of these remarketing campaigns that are running, and the CPC is between 4 cents and 15 cents usually, which is pretty phenomenal. So no matter what you spend, you're going to go further when you run advertising through Foundee, a lot further. The reason why we're able to do this is because we've leveraged our relationships with publishers and exchanges, ad networks, and platforms to deliver the advertising at a dramatically reduced cost for you. And then on top of that, the system's really good at understanding who it is your likely targetable user, your addressable market audience at that point. Maybe to break it down a little bit further, for remarketing, let's say you have 20,000 people in your tour ticketing audience, and you have to very rapidly set up a campaign. You want to reach these people, let's say, in 12 or 15 cities or just across the United States, period. Excuse me. Conventional studies show that you want to reach your audience between 5 and 8 times, really to gain their attention and get to the point of encouraging them to convert. So, or really choose to convert. At that point, you can't force them to convert, but if you're reaching them between 5 and 8 times, that's giving them the right opportunity to decide whether or not they want to convert. And in this case, we're talking about buying a concert ticket or a VIP bundle or whatever that thing is. And so if you do the math backwards in that case, it'd be about $75 to reach those 20,000 people. So to reach them 5 times, it costs you less than $400. And so that's usually the type of math that we look at. If we want to reach people between 5 and 8 times, and our addressable fan base, again, this isn't just casting the net out to people that potentially like rock music. This is, in this case, in this example at least, targeting people that have actually shown an interest in buying tickets and going to your artist concerts. So you can reach those 20,000 people 5 or more times for less than $400. So I would encourage you to look at the math from that direction mostly. And let's see, pricing. I think I've answered the majority of the questions that were asked multiple times. So at the end of this, if you have any questions, of course, you can reach out to us. I'm going to take you back to the homepage. I think I have to sign out. Nope, here we go. There are some answers already on the homepage, but at the very bottom, you'll see some case studies. I highly encourage you to read the Sapient, Nathaniel Rateliff, and Armada case studies. We have case studies for Sublime with Rome and for St. Vincent, and a number of other case studies are coming as well. We will do more of these. We'll do more of these webinars in the future. We will get even more specifically focused on certain things, such as running remarketing advertising, or running or what it means to do behavioral targeting and stuff like that. But I wanted to give a big overview here for the most part, and then we can get more specific later. And again, you can reach us directly if you email us at info@thefoundgroup.com, and we will follow up with some more information after this call. We'll give you guys some video references, and then we will link you to the case studies, of course, and we'll link you to our help section. But again, you can also email us anytime. Let us know what questions you have. We're happy to answer them. And be on the lookout. We have a lot of new developments coming. And oh, wait, one more thing. You can also do the auto rescan, of course. So let's say your album's not out yet. You want to paste in your link. You set up the date it's going to come out. I think it's usually Thursdays at what, 9, 10 p.m. Say 10 p.m. This is in military time, of course, so I probably didn't get that right. No, I did. Cool. Great. We'll add in Amazon as well. And this is going to, add on 6/27, 10:12 p.m. It's going to scan and try to find the updated Apple and iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon geo links from around the world, and it'll automatically populate in your services here. So you don't have to stay awake until midnight, constantly refreshing to see if these services have updated. If it hasn't updated by this time, for instance, it's going to refresh that. I think it's every hour for the next 24 hours for you automatically. So don't fret if it didn't find it the first time because the services are a little bit late. It will continue to try to find it for the next 24 hours. Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us on the call today. This is our first webinar. I hope it went pretty well. And again, we will follow up with questions. We'll follow up with links to our help section, our new video, and also our case studies. Again, thanks so much. Take care.